I used to blow through my six-figure salary on clothes, all while being in thousands of dollars of debt that I had no idea how I was going to pay off. Needless to say, my life was a mess and in need of a serious declutter. And not only did I declutter my home and my closet, but I had to declutter my finances. So in this video, I want to show you exactly how. And the best part about all of this is that you can start right now at any income level, and I think you're going to see a huge difference in your finances in less than 30 days. So let's start with the first step of pulling everything out. If you came to me asking for help on how to declutter your closet, the first thing I would tell you to do would be to pull everything out of there so you know exactly what you have. And you need to do the same thing with your money, because the goal of this is to figure out exactly how much you earn and how much you spend. So you're going to want to go through things like your checking accounts, your savings accounts, and gather up your credit card statements. To get a really good idea, I like to dig into my bank statements and my credit card statements from the last 3 to 6 months. You need to get an idea of what your essential expenses are, so how much it basically costs for you to live at the bare minimum. Think things like rent, groceries, gas, electricity. Your non-essential expenses, so basically where you like to spend and have fun. Any debt you might have, and how much you're saving or investing. And one thing I'm going to say about this is, you know, when you pull out all the clothes out of your closet and you're like, what the hell did I buy? How do I even own all of this? I don't even remember buying all of this. You're probably going to feel that same little bit of overwhelm and even bit of embarrassment when you do the spending analysis, especially if you have a lot to clean up with your finances like I did. But that's okay, because the whole point of this is to face the mess and get organized. Step 2 in any declutter is to start sorting through your piles. And you're going to want to do this with your finances too. If you want to make this easier, I do have a budgeting template that I'll leave linked down below. It's just meant to be really simple and make this whole process really easy. But you can do this with any app or just a simple pen and paper if that's easier for you. I like to separate my money into 5 different categories: regular bills, expenses, debt, saving, and investments. The first time I did my own financial declutter, I learned that I was spending way too much money on things like clothes, makeup, skincare. I had a bunch of random subscriptions that I didn't even know what they were for. So the whole point of this is to really get an idea of exactly where your money has been going over the past, let's say, 3 to 6 months, which brings me into step 3, where you want to start getting rid of the things that you don't really see a whole lot of value in. And this is a really important part of the financial declutter that I think a whole lot of people miss, where I think the initial thought is to just get rid of everything that you think that you shouldn't be spending money on. And that definitely can work for a little while, but I do think it's better to just do a quick little audit and just see if what you're currently spending money on is something that you actually care about. So maybe through your financial reorganization, you notice that you're spending a whole lot of money on subscriptions that you're not even really using anymore. That's an opportunity for you to declutter those subscriptions and cancel them so that you can put that money somewhere else that you actually care about. And that can be really on anything you want if you can afford it. Some people might want to put that money towards a savings goal or even paying off debt. But if you do have the financial wiggle room, then maybe you can actually spend more money in a category like travel or spending on things like pets or health and wellness. When I did my very first financial declutter, I had a whole bunch of debt that I needed to pay off, and I found out that I was spending way too much money on clothes, shoes, makeup, and skincare. So as soon as I cut those things, I was able to put way more money down on my debt than I even thought was possible, and that was even without earning any more money at the time. I think the nice thing about doing this financial declutter is without earning a single penny more, you're going to feel like you got a raise, because you're going to be able to see exactly where your money's going and why. So now you've done your financial audit, you've decluttered some of those spending categories, and you've reorganized your finances, so your money is now going exactly where you want it to. Which brings me into my next step, and this is where you take a pause. You actually want to stop adding to this clutter because this is probably the number one rule when it comes to decluttering anything in your life, whether it be your closet, your home, or your money. And that is, once you've decluttered, you should actually put a pause on adding anything more into that space. And I think the same thing goes with your money and your spending. So this is where I think it would be really helpful to commit to a little bit of a no-buy challenge. This can be on one category of your budget or on multiple. You make your own rules. And if you want even more help with that, I did write a journal all about it. It's available anywhere you buy your books, like Target, Walmart, Barnes & Noble. If you want to check it out, I will leave a link down below. Or I have a whole playlist on my channel that you can watch for free, so you can check that out after this. But the whole point of a declutter is to kind of enjoy the space that you've now given yourself. Think about it. If it was your closet, you got rid of everything that you hate, that you're no longer wearing, that you're like, why did I even buy this? And now everything that remains in that wardrobe is the things that you actually want to keep and that you actually enjoy wearing. Same thing goes with your money. You've now freed up that extra cash to go towards something that you actually value spending money on, or towards a goal that you want to reach that you may have been neglecting in the past. I think it's very tempting to use that money to spend it on kind of whatever you want, on old bad habits, things like that. But I think it's really important to take pause, use this spending freeze as a bit of a reset, and even develop new habits where you actually get used to putting more money towards that goal that you want to reach. Low buys and no buys are often temporary challenges, but I find them really helpful if you want to build new habits, especially when it comes to how you spend your money. But enjoy that kind of new, organized, empty space. This next step in the declutter, I wish I learned sooner because I would have just saved myself so much time and mental gymnastics when it came to reaching any financial goal, whether it be paying off debt, saving, or investing. And that is automating your finances. And I like to do this to keep my money and my mind organized, just like I would do in any space. And since I've done this, I have not missed a bill, I haven't paid a late fee on any credit cards, and I've been watching my savings and investments grow on autopilot because everything is automated. I just make sure that I have enough money plus maybe like a 10 or 15% buffer in case of any overdrafts, and the money just comes out when it has to. And what I love about it the most is that not only do things get paid on time, but it really just helps minimize any decision fatigue that I make when it comes to my money. For example, I used to always kind of think to myself like, hey, I'm making, an extra $500 this month. This is the month that I'm finally going to save, or I'm finally going to start investing. And inevitably, that money would just get spent somewhere else and it would never happen. But now, because I have my money automated on things like paydays, I actually pay myself first, even before I see any spending money land into my checking account. It just keeps things so much more streamlined, so much more organized, and you can actually start to meet your financial goals all on autopilot. The next thing you're going to want to make sure you do is keep everything organized, because I think a lot of people like to think that, they can just declutter once and then you're good to go. But there's always a risk of that clutter building back up again, especially if you're not paying attention. So this is where it's important to start tracking your expenses. And I do this with my closet too, because when I declutter my closet, there's some things that I'm not sure I want to get rid of. This is what I call my maybe pile. And what I like to do is actually wear those clothes to see if I actually want to keep them or not. So after the initial declutter, there's still a potential that you might get rid of those things later. And that's exactly how I like to think about my money and tracking my finances. It's one thing to do things like a spending analysis and writing a budget, but it's entirely another thing to actually stick to it. And that's where tracking your expenses comes in. This is also really going to help refine your budget so that you can make one that's realistic. You might overspend in some categories, you might underspend in others. So you're kind of always refining and tidying up your finances along the way. And finally, at the end of the 30 days, you're going to want to do a financial recap. This is where you check in with your finances and see what progress you made. Some months you may spend more, others you may spend less, but it's really important to check in and see how you did so you can keep reaching your goals and build your habits moving forward. Decluttering is never one and done. It's something that you need to do regularly to keep your space organized, and clutter-free. I think if you try this, you're going to feel so empowered about your money, and it's just going to feel so much easier to stay on top of it moving forward. So let me know in the comments below if you're going to try this, and if you want to build even better money habits, you can check out this video next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!